Exercises with Q walk. Normal walking. Typical gait training using Q walk. The patient is asked to reach the projected light spots with the forefoot. Inline walking. The patient is asked to walk by reducing the base of support. This exercise enhances balance and coordination. Wider base walking. The patient is required to reach the projected light spots. Very useful exercise to widen the base of support in those patients with severe balance deficits. Backward walking. The patient is asked to walk backward while trying to take feedback on the still foot to the ground. The speed of execution is reduced to enhance balance. Turning. Very useful training in patients with Parkinson's to improve the always difficult phase of turning. Using one or two devices, one can work on widening the turning radius, seeking greater safety and stability. The patient is asked to perform the turning by following and reaching the projected feedback. Extra rotation correction. In patients with an extra rotation attitude, the use of feedback can be helpful in generating an increased attentional level and awareness regarding the incorrect attitude. The patient is asked to correct the pathological attitude by trying to keep the feedback along a straight line. Squat. It is possible to perform the squat exercise with the use of visual feedback to seek greater motor control and steadiness. The patient is asked during squats to keep the feedback as stable as possible on the ground. Monopodal squat. It is possible to perform the monopodal squat exercise with the use of visual feedback to seek greater motor control and steadiness. The patient is asked during the squats to keep the feedback as stable as possible on the ground. Dual tasking. It is possible to use Q walk to generate a dual task required of the patient in order to work on motor programming and control, such as balance plus movement. In this case, the patient is required to keep the visual feedback fixed to the ground, generated by the limb in support, and with the other limb perform circumduction movements. Reaching exercises by the physical therapist. It is also possible to use Q walk worn by the physical therapist to perform exercises and training guided and controlled by the physical therapist. The patient is required to reach targets generated by the physiotherapist's movements. In this way, the physical therapist can have more control and guidance over the patient's movements.